I was supposed to be dead by now. Stomach cancer, stage 3. When the doctor told me, I didn't cry. I just stared at the wall and thought, well, so this is it. Lisa, my wife of almost 10 years, grabbed my hand and promised she'd be there through everything. And for a while, I believed her. Chemo hit hard. I lost 45 pounds in 4 months. Couldn't keep food down. Couldn't stand up for more than 5 minutes without nearly blacking out. I threw up so often, the nurses just kept a bucket by the bed. I stopped recognizing my own reflection. Lisa stayed, technically, but something in her face shifted. The pity in her eyes turned cold. She still brought me food and smiled when doctors were around, but when the door closed and we were alone, silence. No comfort, no warmth. Like I was some patient she got assigned to, not the man she once kissed like she couldn't get enough of me. I told myself it was stress, that she just couldn't handle seeing me like this. Couldn't blame her. Hell, I didn't even want to see myself. The worst part wasn't the vomiting or the pain. It was knowing I couldn't hold her the way I used to. Treatment wrecked my body, left me too weak to even fake intimacy. And yeah, it messed up things downstairs, too. I kept waiting for her to reach for me. She never did. Months passed. Somehow I beat it. The tumor shrank, the scans looked better, and my strength came crawling back, day by day. It was like winning a game I didn't know the rules to. But the prize? A wife who barely looked at me. After nearly a year, I went back to work, engineering firm downtown, mid-sized, solid pay. I wasn't a rock star, but I was dependable. 2 months in, I got promoted to senior project lead. Biggest career win of my life. Lisa's reaction? A dry, that's good, babe. No hug. No celebration. No toast over dinner. I told myself maybe she was tired. Maybe she was still worried about my health. But deep down, I knew something else was off. She stopped asking about my day. She'd come home late, said she had freelance meetings with design clients. Always last minute, always vague. Then came the Saturday night I couldn't sleep. I rolled over and asked, "You awake?" She didn't move. I whispered, "I miss you, Lise." Still nothing. Sunday morning, I found her in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone with her coffee. "You okay?" I asked. She looked up like I'd interrupted something important. "Yeah." "Why?" "You've been distant." She sighed. "It's been a lot, Ryan. Work, money, your health. I'm trying my best." I nodded. I wanted to believe that. Until 2 weeks later, my buddy Dave texted, "You free to grab a drink? Need to show you something." We met at this small bar we always went to after work. He sat across from me and didn't even order a beer. "I didn't know how to tell you this," he said, "but I saw Lisa the other day, near the marina." My stomach turned. Okay. She wasn't alone. She was holding hands with some guy. And I swear, man, they kissed. I froze. "You're messing with me." "I wish I was." He slid his phone across the table. The picture hit me like a freight train. Lisa, my wife, laughing, her hand tangled with some guy's. His face was turned just enough to make him identifiable. Handsome, smug, confident. "That's Mark Preston," Dave added quietly. "Isn't he one of her clients?" I didn't answer. My ears were ringing. The bar around me went silent. I thought back to every late night, every vague trip, every tired smile. It all clicked into place. I took a long sip of my beer and nodded. "Thanks, man. What are you gonna do?" I looked him dead in the eye. "I'm gonna find out everything." I didn't sleep that night. I lay there, staring at the ceiling while Lisa snored softly beside me, unaware that everything had changed. My chest felt tight. Not from cancer this time, but from something colder. Betrayal sits in your bones like a winter that never ends. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I needed more than a photo taken from 20 feet away. I needed the truth. The kind you can't deny, even when it's burning your whole life down. So the next morning, I called in sick to work and made another call to a private investigator named Pete. A friend of a friend. Quiet guy, older, didn't ask many questions. "Vegas trip, huh?" he said, jotting down notes in a notepad. "You think she's really meeting a client?" I shook my head. She booked it last minute. Said she was meeting a new brand client on a cruise docked for the weekend. But there's no schedule. No paper trail. Cruise. Pete's eyes narrowed. That's new. I want everything. Where she goes, who she meets. Pictures, audio, receipts. I don't care what it costs. He nodded. We'll get it done. That night, Lisa packed her bags. I offered to help, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know what was inside. She laughed when I tried to lift one of them. You sure you're up for that, Iron Man? I smiled back. Hey, I beat cancer. I can handle a suitcase. She zipped it shut and kissed me on the cheek. Don't wait up. Something in that kiss made my stomach turn. After she left, I went straight to the garage, pulled out the small recorder Pete gave me and slid it under the passenger seat of her car. It was voice-activated. Simple, quiet, impossible to notice. That was the easy part. The next morning, I woke up early, headed to the airport parking lot, and retrieved the recorder from her car. Back at home, I plugged in headphones and braced myself. The first 10 minutes were just road noise, some music. But then her voice. Hey, baby. A man answered. His voice was low, smooth, too familiar. Hey, gorgeous. You ready for a weekend of trouble? She asked. Always. I gripped the edge of the desk. Did you tell your husband? Not yet, she said, laughing. He's clueless. Always has been. Still thinks I'm just tired all the time. Poor guy. He's gonna lose it when he finds out. He won't, she replied. He believes whatever I tell him. It's kinda sad. My fingers shook. I stopped the recording, pressed rewind, and played it again. Every word stabbed deeper. I knew I couldn't confront her yet. I needed more. I needed to see the full scope of what she had built behind my back. I went upstairs to her office, the one she kept locked, for work. She had a key hidden in the closet. I'd seen her use it 100 times, but she never knew I noticed. Inside was a clean little workspace with shelves of design books, client files, and a drawer labeled personal. Inside that drawer, I found her other phone. It was unlocked. Messages between her and Mark flooded the screen. Some were weeks old. Some were minutes before she left. Pack that red bikini, he wrote. You know the one. Already in the bag, she replied. I can't wait to watch the sun set with you. Pictures. Reservations. A photo of them on a previous trip, sitting too close, smiling like newlyweds. She never smiled at me like that anymore. And then something else. A lease agreement. She had rented an apartment in the city. Fully furnished, utilities included, all paid through her separate account. My hands trembled as I clicked through more emails. Furniture, receipts. A thank you card from Mark. For the place and the watch. You spoil me. I stepped back, heart racing. My wife hadn't just cheated. She'd built a second life. I stared at that condo lease like it was a death certificate. Lisa hadn't just been sneaking around. She had been planting roots with someone else. A new place, separate from our home, fully furnished for two. That wasn't a fling. That was intention. I printed everything. Every receipt, every email, every screenshot. I loaded a flash drive with the audio recordings. If this ever turned legal, and I had a feeling it would, I wanted backup. And then I found something I wasn't prepared for. A receipt from a local clinic. Not for anything routine. It was for emergency contraception and a follow-up visit, dated 2 months back. My stomach sank. Lisa always told me she couldn't have children, that she had some condition that required a procedure in her 20s. I believed her. I accepted that we'd never be parents. But here she was, taking pills meant to prevent what she claimed could never happen. I closed the drawer, locked everything back up, and went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water. My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped it. That night, Lisa called from the ship. Her voice was light, breezy, like she was on a spa retreat. Hey babe, she said, loud music playing in the background. Just wanted to check in. How's the cruise? I asked calmly. Amazing, she gushed. So relaxing. They've got this rooftop pool, and the buffet is insane. That's great, I said, sipping water like it was whiskey. She paused. You okay? You sound off. Just tired. I lied. Been a long day. Well, get some sleep. I miss you, she said, almost as an afterthought. Yeah, you too. I hung up. Then I stared at the phone like it had personally insulted me. The next day I called Emily, Mark's wife. I found her number through a business registry Lisa had on her desk. Emily Preston, marketing consultant. Her name was all over shared project emails with Lisa. She wasn't just Mark's wife. She was someone Lisa used to grab lunch with. I dialed her number. It rang 3 times. Hello, Emily? You don't know me. My name's Ryan Matthews. I think we need to talk. There was a pause. Okay. About what? About your husband. And my wife. Another pause. Then, where? We met at a coffee shop near the harbor neutral ground. She was younger than I expected. Pretty, put together, but she had that look in her eyes, like she already knew something was wrong and had been trying not to admit it. I'm sorry to do this like this, I said, sliding a manila folder across the table. She opened it, saw the photos, the emails, the lease. Her hand shook. How long? She whispered. Almost a year. Maybe more. Emily blinked fast. She flipped through the pages in silence. I knew something was off. He stopped coming home on time. He said he was working late. Guess we were both being played. I nodded. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, and showed me a selfie Mark had sent her 2 nights ago. He was wearing the same shirt he had on in the photo with Lisa from the recorder. Do you want revenge? I asked. She looked up. What kind? The kind they'll never see coming. We didn't shake hands. We shook on a plan. Emily wasn't the crying type. Not anymore. She had already done her mourning, and what was left was steel. There was something about seeing your pain mirrored in someone else. It made the whole thing feel real. Validated. They think they're untouchable, I said, sipping bitter coffee. Mark thinks he's charming. Lisa thinks I'm stupid. They think they've won. Emily didn't blink. Let's take everything from them. That night, I broke into the apartment Lisa had been hiding. I still had the key I found in her jewelry box. The place was exactly how I pictured it. Clean, stylish, decorated in her usual barely lived-in designer taste. But the bedroom? That told a different story. 2 sets of everything: towels, toothbrushes, robes. A drawer full of men's cologne. A watch box. A folded shirt that didn't belong to me. A photo frame face down on the dresser. I flipped it. Lisa and Mark. On a balcony somewhere. Smiling. Her arms wrapped around his shoulders. Like I had never existed. I didn't take anything. I just took pictures. Dozens of them. Then I packed a few boxes. Her clothes. His shoes. Bathroom stuff. Emily said she'd handle the rest. We met again the next afternoon, parked a block away from the condo. Her SUV was loaded with bags, labeled, color-coded, organized. I'm impressed, I said. I'm thorough, she replied deadpan. You brought gloves. Latex. Fresh box. We walked in like we owned the place, and in a way we did. They built their love nest on lies. It felt right that we were the ones cleaning it out. We dumped all their stuff into the second bedroom. Didn't bother organizing. Threw Lisa's fancy dresses into a pile with Mark's running shoes. Emily found a box of candles and smashed 3 of them just for fun. You feel better? I asked. Not yet. We stood in the middle of that hollow little apartment, surrounded by their private life, now exposed and messy. For the first time since all this started, I exhaled. I never thought I'd be this guy, I said. The one who gets cheated on. Emily nodded slowly. Me neither. Later that night, we grabbed burgers and fries at a dive bar I hadn't been to since college. No expectations. No pressure. Just 2 people who got punched in the heart and decided not to stay down. We talked about everything, how we met our spouses, where it all started to go wrong, and how we ignored the signs. It wasn't romantic, not really. Just honest. Then my phone rang. Lisa. I let it buzz once. Twice. On the third, I answered. Hey babe, she said, clearly tipsy. You will not believe the day I had. Oh yeah. I won the client award, she bragged. Best designer in the whole West region. Crazy, right? Crazy, I echoed. And they want me to stay another week. Help with some branding workshops. Big opportunity. I watched Emily across the table as she sipped her drink, her expression unreadable. Congratulations, I said flatly. You don't sound happy, she slurred a little. It's just, our anniversary's this week. Lisa paused. Oh, right. I totally forgot. Don't worry, I lied. Work comes first. I get it. She giggled. You're the best. I hung up, tossed the phone on the table, and said nothing. Emily leaned in. She's staying longer? I nodded. So is Mark. We both stared at each other for a long moment. Then Emily whispered, let's make sure they come home to nothing. The next morning, I emptied every trace of Lisa from our house. Her closet, cleaned out. Her shoes, her coats, her perfumes. All boxed and stacked in the garage. I didn't break anything. I wasn't angry. I was efficient. Every framed photo of us? Gone. Our wedding album? Sealed in a plastic tub and shoved into the attic, buried beneath old Christmas lights and forgotten camping gear. I wanted her to come home and feel like she'd stepped into someone else's life. And the bedroom? I stripped it down to the mattress. New sheets, new pillows, no trace of the woman who once told me forever meant something. While I worked, Emily did the same at her place. We stayed in touch, texting updates like we were remodeling partners. Only instead of paint samples, we traded messages like, found his stash of cologne, tossing it, packed her bathrobes, can't believe I ever bought her that silk one, took down the picture of our wedding. It's just drywall now. That night, we met back at the apartment, the one Lisa and Mark thought of as their secret hideaway. We stood in the middle of the bedroom, staring at the mess we had made with surgical precision. Emily pulled a bottle of cheap wine from her tote bag. You drink. After the week I've had? Pour it. We drank out of mismatched coffee mugs. Hers had a faded pineapple on it. Mine said, world's okayest designer. I laughed. Fitting, I said, raising the mug. To closure. To starting over, she replied. And for a second, the room didn't feel heavy anymore. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Her expression shifted. It's the cruise line. My chest tightened. She answered, her voice tight. Hello. I watched her face drain of color. Yes, I'm his wife. What? Silence. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and my heart pounding in my chest. She slowly lowered the phone, still staring at it. They said the ship lost power last night. Some kind of mechanical failure. They hit a reef during the storm. I blinked. What? It's bad. Emergency crews were dispatched. Radio contact was lost an hour ago. I felt like I had been dropped into ice water. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then my phone rang. Caller ID, Lisa. I answered on speaker. Lisa. Screaming in the background. Metal groaning. Sirens. Chaos. Ryan. Her voice cracked through static. Something's wrong. There's water. Where are you? Are you safe? The call cut off. I stared at the screen. No service. Emily looked at me wide-eyed. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. We both knew. We sat frozen, mugs still in hand, the wine now forgotten. The silence was louder than anything. I refreshed the news site on my phone again. Still nothing. No updates. No confirmation. Just a breaking banner. Luxury cruise ship may be in distress near Bermuda. Developing. Emily leaned forward. They're out there. In that storm. I nodded. They were celebrating. In a place they built with lies. It wasn't anger I felt. Not anymore. It was disbelief. Disbelief that just hours ago, they were sipping cocktails, probably laughing about how gullible we were. And now, they might not make it home. I stood up, paced. I don't even know what to feel. You don't have to feel anything, she said. You already felt everything before they left. We waited. Hours passed. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Finally, just after midnight, the update came through. Shipwreck confirmed. Luxury vessel sinks off Bermuda coast. Survivors unclear. I read it 3 times. Emily got a call 10 minutes later. I knew who it was by the way her shoulders stiffened. Yes, I understand. Thank you, she said, voice barely above a whisper. She hung up and looked at me. They haven't recovered any bodies. Not yet. Just debris. I sat back down. Her voice broke. That's it. That's how it ends. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't even know if it was over. Part of me hoped they'd wash up on some island with nothing but shame and regret. Another part didn't care. We didn't speak for a while after that. She eventually fell asleep curled up on the couch, a blanket over her knees, the news on mute. I just sat there, watching the same footage loop. Waves, rescue boats, reporters struggling to fill in the blanks. I finally stood up around 4 a.m., walked to the guest room, and stared at the packed boxes. Lisa's whole life, shoved into cardboard. I picked up a framed photo of us from 5 years ago. She looked so in love. I did too. I turned it over and set it down, face first. The next day, I called the cruise line myself. They confirmed Lisa was on the passenger list. That there was no confirmed survivor manifest yet. But she was booked as part of a couple's retreat, the woman said gently. With a Mr. Mark Preston. I said nothing, just thanked her and hung up. Later that afternoon, Emily came by with something in her hand. A manila envelope. Inside was a copy of Mark's life insurance policy, one that named her as the sole beneficiary. $500,000, she said quietly. I stared at her. Lisa had a policy too. Same amount. Through her agency. We looked at each other, realizing the weight of it. We were about to become very rich. And very alone. The checks came faster than we expected. No bodies meant no funerals. Just closed investigations, corporate settlements, and paperwork. The cruise company didn't fight. They paid out to the spouses in full. Quietly, efficiently, like they were trying to erase the whole mess with dollars. Emily and I each received $500,000. $500,000 for a love that never lasted. $500,000 for lies we never asked for. We met again at the apartment. The one Lisa had picked out like it was her new life. I had the keys. Emily had brought garbage bags and a donation van parked down the street. I don't want a damn thing from this place, I muttered. Neither do I, she said, handing me a bag. We cleared everything. Furniture, clothes, frames, Lisa's favorite candle set, Mark's Bluetooth speaker. It all went into bags or the donation truck. We weren't careful. We didn't pretend any of it mattered. In the bedroom, Emily found a shoebox tucked in the closet. She opened it, stared, and handed it to me. Inside, a bundle of handwritten letters. All from Lisa to Mark. One caught my eye. The envelope read, "To read in Maui." I unfolded it. "Mark, I can't wait for us to be far away. Just you and me. No more pretending. I don't regret anything, except not doing this sooner. When I look at you, I see freedom." I stopped reading. "She had a way with words," Emily said coldly. "Yeah," I replied, tossing the letter into the trash bag. The apartment felt lighter once it was empty, like it had been holding its breath the whole time, waiting for someone to set it free. Afterward, we went back to my place. We didn't talk about the money. We didn't talk about what came next. We just sat on the porch, 2 people with matching ghosts. "I think I might sell my house," Emily said suddenly. "Too many memories." "You could stay here," I offered, not even thinking about it. She looked at me. "You serious? There's a spare room. Or not. Whatever you need." She smiled, tired but genuine. "I'll think about it." That night she stayed over. Not in my bed. Not like that. She just didn't want to be alone. Neither did I. We fell asleep on opposite sides of the couch, the news still playing quietly in the background. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I answered groggily. "Hello." Static. Then a voice I hadn't heard in days. "Ryan." "It's me." My blood turned to ice. "Lisa." I sat straight up, nearly dropping the phone. Lisa, I repeated, staring into the dark. Her voice came through again, choppy, like it was traveling through a storm. I'm alive. I don't have much time. The boat, it went down. We made it to a raft. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Mark didn't make it, she added, her voice breaking. I'm with a few others. Coast Guard found us floating near some island. We're being flown to a hospital. My jaw clenched. You're alive. Yes, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I didn't know how to tell you. I ended the call. I sat there in silence, heart pounding, phone still in my hand. Emily stirred on the other couch. Everything okay? I looked at her, my mouth dry. She's alive. Emily blinked. Lisa. I nodded slowly. She said Mark didn't make it. She's being flown back. Probably tonight. Emily stared at me, frozen. Then she sat up and ran her hands through her hair. I didn't see that coming, she muttered. Me either. What now? I didn't answer. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stared at the cabinets Lisa once organized. She was alive, and coming home. To what? A stripped house, a cleaned-out closet, a husband who knew everything, and $500,000 that had already been paid out, based on the assumption that she was dead. She was about to return to a life that didn't exist anymore. I turned back to Emily. I think it's time to finally give her a proper welcome. By sunrise, I had a plan. Not out of rage, I was done being angry. This wasn't about punishment. It was about truth. Lisa needed to see exactly what she'd thrown away. No yelling, no drama, just reality, cold and clear. I made a few calls. One to the life insurance company, another to my lawyer. Legally, the payout was mine. There was no clause for just kidding. I survived. And if she tried to fight it, she'd have to explain why she faked a couple's vacation and vanished with a man who wasn't her husband. Emily and I had coffee on the back deck, watching the sun rise like something out of a movie neither of us wanted to be in. You're calm, she said. Too tired to be anything else. She sipped her drink. Do you want me to leave when she gets here? No, I said. I want her to see everything. That she lost more than a man. She lost a home, a future. That afternoon, a car pulled up in front of the house. Lisa stepped out wearing borrowed clothes and a look that said she didn't know what world she'd landed in. She knocked, hesitant. I opened the door. She blinked at me, her voice small. Hey! I didn't move. Welcome back. She looked past me, eyes flicking over the changed living room. New photos on the walls, no sign of her anywhere. I didn't think I'd ever see this place again. Neither did I said. Her voice cracked. Can we talk? Sure. She stepped inside like a stranger. Her eyes landed on Emily sitting calmly at the dining table, hands folded, watching her. Lisa's lips parted. What is she? She knows, I said. About everything. The emails, the condo, Mark, all of it. She stumbled back a step. Ryan, No. I cut her off. Don't. You've already said it all. In your letters. In your lies. This is your mess. And now you're standing in the middle of what's left of it. She looked at Emily, then at me. You're with her now? We're surviving together. Something you and I never did. Tears welled in her eyes. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. Mark, he was different. He was a mistake, Emily said flatly. A selfish, reckless mistake. Lisa sat down slowly. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But it did, I replied. And now it's done. She looked down at the table, hands shaking. I don't even know where to go, she whispered. I stood up, walked to the hall, and came back with a small envelope. Inside, a cashier's check for a modest amount, enough to get her started, along with a printed copy of the divorce papers. Her eyes widened. You already filed? I nodded. Weeks ago, while you were gone. She looked at the check. You're giving me money? No, I said. I'm giving you closure. She stood slowly, face pale. Is that it? There's nothing left to say. She looked at me one last time, like she was searching for something in my face. Some softness. Some door left open. But there was nothing there. Just the man she left behind. Lisa walked out of the house like someone who had just seen the future and realized she wasn't in it. Emily and I didn't speak for a few minutes after the door closed. We just listened to the sound of gravel crunching under tires, the last breath of a story that had finally run its course. When it was over, I poured us both a glass of wine. She raised hers gently. To surviving. I clinked mine against hers. And starting over. In the weeks that followed, things moved fast. The divorce finalized without a fight. Lisa didn't contest a single detail. Not the insurance, not the house, not the missing year she'd spent building a second life. Maybe she knew she didn't deserve any of it. Emily sold her place and moved in officially. She said she didn't need a fresh start. She needed a real one. I gave her the master bedroom, the one Lisa and I used to share. I took the guest room at first. But somewhere in that quiet space between shared pain and new beginnings, we found each other again. Not as victims. Not as rebound stories. But as people who knew how deep betrayal could cut, and still chose to love anyway. One evening, we went back to the little bar where we'd first sat across from each other. Angry and stunned and broken. Same booth. Same battered menu. Different people. I handed her a small box. She opened it. Inside, a simple gold ring. Her eyes met mine. "You're serious?" she whispered. "As a second chance," I said. "Not just for love, but for both of us." She smiled through the tears and nodded. "It's about time." I slipped the ring onto her finger. The jukebox played something old and sweet in the background. Nobody clapped, and we didn't need them to. The silence felt just right. 2 months later, we got married in a quiet ceremony under a canopy of trees behind the house. Just a few close friends. No vows about forever, just promises for every day we still had left. And then one morning, Emily came out of the bathroom, holding a small white stick in her hand, tears already brimming. I looked at her. She nodded. "We're having a baby." I couldn't speak. 10 years of believing I'd never be a father. 10 years of thinking I wasn't enough. Now here I was, not just alive, but living. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was rebuilding what someone broke. I felt like I was building something brand new. Something that was finally mine.